All right, I want to make sure we're all on the same page about what a toxic relationship actually is. I think a lot of people have this misconception that it has to be really overt and crazy things going on for your relationship to be toxic, and that's so not the case. It's not true, right? And so I want to give you at least three key signs to look out for to identify whether you're in a toxic relationship currently. Maybe there's a friend that's in one, and you can actually get them a heads up to look into things because you don't want them to get harmed or hurt, or if you're dating and things are moving in a direction towards a relationship, but it's having a really toxic foundation of a setup, I need you to be able to catch these signs so you don't waste your time going on an unnecessary roller coaster ride that is hurtful, painful, and bad for everybody, right? We don't need that. We don't want that. All right. So before we can get into the signs of a toxic relationship, we have to know exactly what is toxic. What does that mean in the first place, right? And toxic simply is defined as something that is poisonous, right? It's bad for you. It's destructive. It can lead you to illness. So when we talk about your environment around you, we talk about mentally, physically, emotionally, it tears you down and takes away from you, right? Puts you in an unhealthy space, right? So let's just be on the same page about that. And this is also why it doesn't have to be really overt and extremely obvious things going on for your relationship to be toxic. All you need to do is do a wellness check and check in with yourself. How are you feeling in your relationship? Are you feeling sad and depressed all the time? Are you mentally worn out and drained, or, lacking confidence or self-esteem, right? Is your relationship, taking away from you, or is it building you up? These are the most obvious signs that you're in something that might be more toxic or not. And a little hint, hint. Now, your partner rarely will not have anything to do with you being in these kind of energy spaces and mental spaces and emotional spaces. But if they have nothing to do with you feeling this way, then this is a really big sign that you yourself is toxic in your own right from some things maybe you haven't healed from the past, or stuff that you're still working through that you haven't addressed yet within you. But all right, the first sign is constant negativity. Right? If your relationship is rooted in the foundation, like your norm, right? The norm for your relationship daily is that you guys have negativity, negative energy circulating all the time, your relationship is most likely toxic. You literally can't have a healthy relationship or one that's positive if it's always a negative foundation. Literally, negativity is a root to something that is poisonous, right? Illness, whatever, what have you. And it doesn't have to be something that's so over the top and overt, remember? It doesn't have to be you guys screaming at each other all the time. It doesn't have to be you, trying to intentionally spite each other and stuff that's just so overtly messed up, right? For it to be toxic. Constant criticism, belittling, blaming, right? To where you and your partner start to avoid having any kind of conversations about anything that is maybe a conflict or an issue because it's been so much negativity built that the last thing you want to do is face issues together because it's going to end in something that's uncomfortable, unpleasant, and just, depressing, if you will, right? To where the positive experiences that you have are so few far in between, right? Your norm, your expected experience every day is something that's negative instead of something that is more positive, uplifting, and optimistic. Second big one is lack of respect. Now, in a healthy, normal relationship, that is a foundational pillar, right? But in a toxic relationship, it's almost non-existent. And remember, disrespect means lack of courtesy, lack of consideration for the other person's value, right? Not showing a respect to that. This can be disregarding each other's feelings, boundaries, sense of autonomy, right? Anything that starts to undermine something that's courteous to you and your value. Name calling, manipulation, controlling tactics, all things that at the end of the day starts to erode and tear away from your sense of self-esteem. So when you guys think, oh, well, he or she said this to me, right? So it justified me firing back and saying something negative back. Well, yeah, they're doing something toxic or saying something toxic to you, and you start name calling and things back, you're being just as toxic. You guys are toxic. But watch this. Even if you guys don't vocally say these type of things to each other and outwardly try to do these type of things, if you think them on the regular, it's the same difference, because your true energy towards this person is a toxic one, which means no matter how you want to slice it, subconsciously, it's going to come out in your actions in some way. And side note, this is also why when you refuse to have conversations with your partner about important things, like guys often don't want to listen to their woman, sometimes vice versa, right? This is a lack of respect, right? Because you're not showing a courtesy to that person's feelings and emotions, and it starts to continue to erode the relationship health and it becomes more poisonous. And the third sign is pretty obvious: an unequal power dynamic, right? Now, yes, men tend to lead the relationships mostly, but that doesn't mean that they are dictators, right? So I'm not talking about a man that's, being commanding to, head his household. I'm saying when one or both of you guys are trying to be really commanding to the other person, to where it becomes controlling and manipulative, to where it becomes your way or the highway type mentality, right? To where, you have to dictate everything that happens, or else you don't feel good or things aren't okay and at peace, as long as you're not steering the ship in a way to do things that just fit what you want, right? Not things that are like maybe best for you guys as a unit and for the home, but just to appease yourself, right? When things get into that kind of a space, it's beyond toxic, because now the other person, their sense of the things they need to be a healthy and whole individual are being stripped away or not fed, because everything's always been done to meet the needs of the other person. But here's the trick with that, right? If you are someone that is the person trying to be the more controlling, dominant person to just strong arm the relationship, you're also not doing what's serving for you either, because in your heart of hearts, you want to be a good person. You want to be an awesome person. You can't be that if you're doing things that tears away from the very identity you want to identify with. So if you guys are experiencing any of these things, one, two, or three, or all of them, whatever, you need to really reassess the situation that you're in and start to figure out what needs to happen to fix things, or remove yourself from the equation if they cannot be fixed with the other person, if they're not willing to do their part or you're not willing to do yours. Either way, something has to change. Don't stay in a situation that is going to continue to destruct and destroy you. You're too valuable for that. You don't need to go through that, nor does the other person. If you guys need help with that, I'm always here for coaching if you really want to do the work. Let's get it.